protectors of the Sunnahfollowers, protectors of the Sunnah.
Ina alhamdulillah wa salat wa salam ala wa rasulullah. Welcome to another session of our series on belief in Allah. And a lot of people ask the question, what can we do to save ourselves from the tribulations that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam warned us of? We talked about that in our class yesterday on the signs of the last hour and resurrection. Okay, it's all about Aqidah. When the people would come to the prophet asking him about the Antichrist, asking him about the Gog and the Magog, asking him about the wars, what can we do? He said, it's all about your Aqidah, your belief system. Prepare for it by making sure your belief system is correct, because those are the only people that will be safe. Do you guys understand that? That's why it's all about Aqidah, what you believe, not just saying I believe. Even reciting Surah of the Cave. We can recite the first 10 verses of Surah of the Cave when the Antichrist comes, and you can recite the last verses. In fact, you can recite the entire Surah. But if your belief system is not correct, you're on the wrong side. It's not going to help you. And that's the reality, guys. When these greater signs of the last hour happen, the Antichrist, the Gog, the Magog, the war against Islam, the beast that comes from out of the ground, when all those signs happen, the majority of the Muslims will be on the side with the Antichrist. Most Muslims are going to be on the wrong side, because most of us do not truly believe La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, just like when we in the grave. You can memorize how to answer the questions of the grave all you want to. But what did the prophet say will happen when that angel comes to you and says, who is your Lord? You will say, and it won't come out. Allah will make it so you can't say it, because you associated partners with him. You put your desires before him in this world. The same with the Antichrist. When you go to recite the Surah of the Cave, Allah will cause you to forget it. Or you can recite it like people do today, and it ain't gonna do nothing, because you don't even know what you're saying. You don't believe in it. So the only way to save ourselves from all the horror that's gonna come is the same way that we save ourselves from the horror that's already here. Make sure that you understand what La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah means. Where is your allegiance? If you one of those Muslims celebrating birthdays, you ain't gonna get through the Antichrist, because that's an act of worship. You're worshiping your children, yourselves over Allah. Do you think you can get through the Antichrist? No, you're gonna be on his side, fighting against the people who do believe in Allah. Okay? If you say that your allegiance is to your culture instead of to Islam, I'm sorry. You can sing the whole surah, the whole Quran from beginning to end. You still are not going to be protected from the Antichrist. You're going to be fighting with him, behind him, against the Mahdi. The only people that will get through this are people who have allegiance to Allah, not to anyone else, allegiance to the Prophet, not to anyone else, and allegiance to the believers. If you're holding on to a flag, if your allegiance is to Palestine, your allegiance is to Egypt, Your allegiance is to America. Your allegiance is to Israel. Your allegiance is to Ireland. I'm sorry, you're not going to get through the Antichrist, because as Muslims, our allegiance is only to Allah, the Prophet, and the believers on earth, no matter where they live. Do y'all understand? That's the only way that you're going to be protected from the Antichrist, from the beast, the Gog, the Magog, and even just like now. Why do you think Allah is whooping your butt in this life now? Because your Aqidah is not correct. Why is it that so many of us experience trial after trial, hardship after hardship, and there's no break? It seems like nothing goes good for us. I can't get through it because Allah is trying to tell you something. Your belief system is not correct. There's something that you're doing that you shouldn't be doing, or there's something that you're not doing that you should be doing. That's why it's important for us as Muslims to do a lot of self-evaluation. Ask yourself, first and foremost, how is my relationship with Allah? Am I fulfilling all the obligations that He has imposed upon me? Am I staying away from the things He commanded me to stay away from? Is my allegiance only to Him and the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the believers, or is my allegiance to my culture, my race, my tribe? And once you do that, then you say, how's my relationship with my family? Because remember, after Allah, what comes next? Allah says the family, the ties of kinship are under the throne of Allah. So after you evaluate yourself and make sure that your relationship with Allah is intact and correct, then you got to check your relationship with your family. Am I maintaining the ties of kinship? Do I keep in touch with my relatives? Am I checking on them like I'm supposed to be doing? Do I know that I have a cousin out there, a daughter out there, a son out there, an aunt out there who's living on the street, or who's going through a hardship, who's going through a trial? What am I doing to help them? Am I helping that relative? Do I have a niece? Do I have a nephew who's going through some financial difficulty? And I can be of aid, but I'm too selfish. Most of us are not maintaining the tie of kinship. Most of us are not maintaining the relationship with Allah. That's why Allah is whipping your behind with calamity after calamity after calamity. It seems like everything you touch turns to dust. If you're one of those people, why come I'm always going through hell and everything? I just don't get a moment of happiness. Just when I think I'm okay, I find out that this was a mistake. I did this and that was a mistake. That's your Lord trying to tell you something. The believer is tested, but the believer goes through moments of rest. Like our prophet was tested over and over, but he did have moments of rest, moments where you knew he maintained his relationship with Allah. He maintained his relationship with his family. He maintained his relationship with his companions. He maintained his relationship with his ummah. So he went up. Life is supposed to be a roller coaster, guys, up and down, up and down. It's not supposed to be a merry-go-round going around and around. If you see your life is constantly a merry-go-round, problem after problem after problem, every time you turn right, you realize that was a mistake. You go left, that was a mistake. Everything you touch just seems to disintegrate. That's a sign that something ain't right. But up and down is right. Up and down. A moment of rest. Maybe I got a year or two of okay. I'm okay this year, but next year's getting ready to hit me. I'm okay this month. We have to check ourselves. That's the only way we're going to survive the trials that's happening to us today and the trials that's going to come tomorrow with the Antichrist, the war against Islam, the Gog, the Magog, the beast, and all of that. If you are not together in your aqidah, you're doomed. It doesn't matter how many prayers you do. Remember, the prophet said, your good deeds are not enough to get into paradise. Your good deeds don't even guarantee you paradise. It's the earning of the love of Allah. Allah has to love you. Allah doesn't love people who don't look out for their families. Allah doesn't love people who lie, cheat, steal. Allah doesn't love people who are ill-mannered. So we have to earn the love of Allah. And the way to do that is by doing the deeds that he told us is pleasing to him. And it begins with La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah, your allegiance. Most of us don't have that. That's why look on your social media pages, all them birthday celebrations and Turkey Day. Like I told you, celebrating Turkey Day is not a matter of being haram. It's a matter of allegiance. Your allegiance is to the pilgrims when it should have been to Allah. Your allegiance is to El-Quds when it should have been to Allah. Your allegiance is to a rock when it should have been to Allah. Like Umar told the black stone, I'm not kissing you because you represent anything of significance. I am kissing you because it's something the prophet told us to do as part of the ritual of Hajj. My allegiance, he said, is to Allah, to the Prophet Muhammad and the believers, not to a rock. Is that what you guys can say? Those of you who are bearing the flags of your countries, your patriotism and all that, whatever it is, your tribalism, your racism, you care more about the black race than you do about a Muslim that's struggling in a different country. Why should I help him when the black people here in America got problems? Black people here in America, are they Muslim? Are you talking about Muslims or are you talking about some kafirs? Does everybody understand? We have to check ourselves. That's the only way you will make it through the Antichrist or anything else. Everybody understand that? And yesterday, what we did in this class, I tried to give you guys a brief history of religion. A brief history of religion, because a lot of people wonder, when did religious belief begin? Let me ask y'all some questions from my lecture on yesterday, and I don't want to see the same three people answering all the questions while the rest of y'all sitting in here at the bottom of the screen, just sitting. I don't know what you're doing, just sitting, okay? We talked about the history of religion. If you want to learn the history of religious belief, what kind of books should we go out and read? Who can answer that? What kind of books should I look for? Or what type of Google searches should I do if I want to learn about the history of religion? Anybody? Come on, let's get these hands up. I know two sisters who know the answers. What about the rest of y'all that don't talk? Get them hands up. Look at the bottom of the screen. You sit here. Sister Zainab. What kind of books, Sister Zainab, do we read if we want to learn the history of religion? Where do we find that knowledge from, Sister Zainab? Go ahead. You know, I'm gonna start at the bottom,
Um,
guys. Go ahead. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. There she is. Is she on the mic? Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm checking my.
I missed a couple lectures,
Oh.
but do you mean all religion or
Yeah, the history of religion, period. Yes. If you want to
from
learn the
my
history of religion, where do you what type of books? Go ahead.
from my from my understanding, we're only supposed to learn about the deen, stay with Islam, and
Yeah, what books?
all of the past, the Quran, the Hadith, and the Sunnah.
Okay, you guys agree with her answer? She said from the Quran and the Hadith. Is that how we learn the history of religion? Anybody disagree? Good job, Zainab. You are correct. See, this religion ain't hard. My questions are not hard to answer. If you believe in Allah, it's in your heart. And it's going to show, remember, belief shows through your actions and your words. Never be afraid to answer my questions. My questions are easy. Every Muslim should know my answers. If you can't answer my questions and pass my quizzes, that's a sign that something's wrong with your aqidah. Okay, good job. If you want to learn the history of religion, it's only in the Quran, guys. And of course, the hadiths. And why do we include the hadiths in that? Can anyone explain why? Sister Yvette, why is it that we say also the hadith? If you want to learn the history of religion, the only way you're going to learn this through the Quran and also the hadith. Why the hadith too, Sister Yvette? And this is important because there's some Muslims out there that don't believe in the hadiths. So why do we say the hadiths too? Sister Yvette. Okay, Sister Ifti, are you available or are you working? Now, you know, I'm going to always start at the bottom because they're the ones that's quiet.
Assalamu
alaikum. You not working? Okay, go ahead.
What was the question one more time? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Why is it that we also have to say that the hadiths too? Not only do we learn the history of Islam from the Quran, but also the hadiths too. Why is it important that we include the hadiths? Because there's some Muslims out there, believe it or not, Sister Ifti, that don't believe in and they Arabs. Can you believe it? We got some Arab Muslims that don't believe in the hadiths.
The hadiths explain what Allah tells us in the Quran. So there's no way of really understanding it without the Prophet explaining it to us.
There you go. She's Arabic just like me. Born in the USA. That's right. Sister Ifti is back. I got some support here. Born in the USA like Layla, can speak good English. Hello. And knows her deen. Okay, the reason why it's important, guys, like she said, that we include the hadith is because you will never, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, you will never understand the Quran until you learn how he explained it and how he taught us to enact it. You can read one verse of the Quran and don't know what it means, but the Prophet gave us the explanation. So that's the only way you're going to learn the history of religion is from the Quran and the authentic hadith. Good job, Ifti. And that brings us to my next question. Oh, I'm not screen sharing. I'm sorry. I was getting ready to share my screen when I forgot I didn't put it on paper. I didn't have a chance to put it on the paper for y'all because I was doing so many other classes. Okay, my next question. The history of religion began with whom? Who can answer that? The history of religion, Allah explains to us, began with whom? Sister Sabrina. The history of religion began with whom? Sister Sabrina. Sister Rockmo. Rockmo. The history of religion began with whom? These are easy questions. People at the bottom, y'all got to wake up. Go ahead, Rockmo. I know you know the answer, baby. Go ahead.
Is it Adam and Eve?
There you go. My baby knows. Exactly. And you tell Yusef, thank you for giving you the answer. I know Yusef gave it to her. Hello. That's right. So the religion and its history began with Adam and Eve. When Allah created Adam and Eve, they were the first man and the first woman. And being the first woman and the first man, they were subjected to obey Allah. And we talked about how Allah allowed them to live in the Garden of Eden and take whatever they want there to eat, except for one tree. He told them to stay away from one tree. And he also warned them against their enemy, Iblis. He told them, don't listen to him either. But what did Adam and Eve do, guys? Did they obey their Lord? What happened? Who can tell us what happened with Adam and Eve? Sister Norto, what happened with Adam and Eve?
Well, they got enticed by Shaitan and they ate from that tree and Allah banned them from heaven.
Exactly. They disobeyed him like most people do. And not only did Allah put them out, but he put out Iblis too. But how is it that Iblis ended up cursed and Adam and Eve were not when they both did the same sins? All three, Adam, Eve, and Iblis disobeyed Allah. But why is it that Adam and Eve were not cursed, but Iblis was? Sister Muslima.
Iblis didn't bow down to Adam when Allah.
This is afterwards. So because of Allah put Iblis, Adam and Eve out, sent them all down here. But why is it, Muslima, that he cursed Iblis too, but he didn't curse Adam and Eve?
Because he doesn't believe in Allah. Iblis never believed in Allah.
Is that why, guys? Let's see. Let me get another answer. What do you think, sister? Does anybody disagree with Muslima?
I disagree.
Okay, why do you think, Kadi?
Adam and Eve asked for forgiveness and Shaitan did not.
Exactly. That's the difference. Now, I want y'all to write that down. Those of you listening on Facebook. How is it? And that's one of the questions that one of the new Shahadas sent me, Sister Elizabeth. She wanted to know, why is it that Iblis was cursed, but Adam and Eve were not when all three committed the same sin? She said this is a question that she asked as a Christian, and she never got an answer that made sense. Well, I'm going to tell you why, and it should make sense. The reason why Iblis was cursed was because he felt himself not worthy of having to repent for anything. Adam and Eve disobeyed Allah. They realized the mistake they made. They felt guilty. They felt bad, and they asked their Lord to forgive them. But Iblis was like, I don't have to ask you to forgive me. I didn't do anything wrong. How many of you are like that? That arrogance. That's why Allah says arrogance is a sin of disbelief. What do you mean? You didn't do nothing wrong. You did do something wrong. I told you to stay away from them. You disobeyed me. For I don't want to hear your reasons why. You disobeyed me. And you got the nerve to think that you don't have to apologize. A lot of people are like Iblis. Okay, good job on that answer. So, that's how Iblis ended up cursed and Adam and Eve did not. And we talked about how Adam Allah gives us the history of religion. He tells us that when he sent Adam down to earth and him and his wife procreated, he also gave them what? What else did Allah send to earth with Adam and Eve? He didn't just put them here and leave them by themselves. What else did Allah give to Adam and Eve? Let's see where I'm at. I'm at the bottom at the M's. Sister Mina, what else did Allah give them? When he put them on earth, what did he leave with them? Did he give them any instructions or anything? Mina.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
He told him that, I can't remember paraphrasing, I'm just trying to remember offhand, but he told them to, that he will guide them and their offsprings as long as they obey him. I can't remember that, but I know they was in total submission.
When he put them here on earth, he didn't just leave them by themselves. He gave them what? To help them to live and survive and know what's expected. Same thing that we got.
Guidance, right?
Yeah, but what do we just break it down? What? He gave them laws, rules.
Oh, laws, rules, regulations.
Yeah, y'all got this. Don't make it hard. It's simple. It's easy. Allah didn't just throw Adam and Eve here on earth and say, go out, do your thing, baby. Shake a tail feather. He said, no, I accept your forgiveness. And I'm going to also tell you how to make it, how to keep my love, how to stay within my favor. These are the rules that you need to abide by. These are the laws you need to adhere to. Does everybody understand? Allah did not leave them to themselves. He gave them laws that will help them. And this is something that we need to accept as Muslims today. The laws that Allah has given to us, the obligations that Allah has imposed upon us are not oppressive. They're for our betterment. Like we talked about yesterday, if you are a Muslim woman and you don't dress properly, you think that the hijab is oppressive, you think that covering your body is oppressive, then something's wrong with your Aqidah. You can forget about fending from the Antichrist. You will be on the Antichrist side and we'll be fighting against you. Allah makes the laws and the rules for us to live by for our betterment because he knows his creation better than the creation knows itself. So when he put Adam and Eve here, he said, Eve, these are your rules. Adam, these are your rules. These are your guidance. These are your obligations. Stay away from this. Stay away from that. Do this, do that, and you will be in good standing with me. But should you deviate away from these rules, deviate away from this guidance, then you'll be on my bad side. And that's how you need to teach your children. When you guys are raising your children, that's how my mother raised me. She said, Layla, ain't nothing bad about Allah's laws. All his laws are for our betterment, even if you don't understand why. Even if you don't understand why a woman has to cover her body, just know that it's a good thing. Because all obligations that Allah imposed upon us are good. Even if you don't understand why you can't eat pork, just understand it's a good thing and obey Allah and don't eat it. Okay? So that's what happened. And we talked about how after Allah gave Adam and his wife the rules and guidelines to adhere to, they and their offspring lived worshiping Allah in his oneness for how many years did his offspring, how many years did mankind adhere to the laws and the rules of Allah and not associate partners with him. Can anybody remember that? How many years did mankind, once after Adam and Eve were placed here, how many years did mankind live here on earth and not associate partners with Allah? Yes, man made mistakes. Man committed sin, but as far as associating partners with Allah or worshiping something other than Allah, how many years passed before that happened? Let's see. Sister Marianne. Marianne, how many years passed before man first associated partners with Allah? Marianne? Brother Merard. You got an answer, Brother Merard?
Yeah, the Prophet Muhammad SAW said that the people lived for 10 centuries until they started doing shirk and things like that.
MashaAllah, exactly. So this is why as Muslims, how many of you believe that we come from apes? How many of you believe that the humans were derived from apes and monkeys and Neanderthals? This is haram. No, we came from Adam and Eve, not no apes. And Adam and Eve and their offspring lived here on earth for 10 centuries. That's 10,000 years. They worshiped Allah alone. Yes, they committed sins. They made mistakes, but did they pray to an idol? Did they take anything else as their Lord besides or equal to Allah? No, not until 10 centuries later. And when that happened, what did Allah do, guys? What did Allah do when the people began to ascribe partners with him? He wanted them to know that this is something that you guys don't do, and there's going to be consequences. So what did he do? Let's see, Sister Latifa, what did he do? Latifa.
He sent a messenger to them.
Yes, and who was the first messenger that Allah sent?
Was it Noah?
Okay, good. And can you tell us, this is a trivia question from my other series I taught, what's the difference between a prophet and a messenger?
Okay, I do know. I just can't pull it in my mind right now.
You better pull it up.
I do know. I do. I promise I do. I just can't pull it together.
Who can help her? What's the difference between a prophet and a messenger, Marianne?
A messenger is somebody who is sent to the people to like tell them about the rules and the laws and they already believe, and a prophet is sent to people who don't believe.
Okay, does anybody disagree with her answer? Zarina,
Yes.
What's the
Yes.
difference between a prophet and a messenger?
Basically, the prophets are sent to people who already believed, and the messengers are sent to people who did not believe.
Exactly. You had it backwards, Marianne. Get that, make sure you straighten it up, because you're good. You're good. You know these hadiths, so I'm gonna get that, correct that. Okay, prophets were sent to people who already believed in Allah, but they had a problem carrying out his laws. In other words, they might have committed sin. Adam was a prophet. Adam was not a messenger, he was a prophet. Okay. Noah was, and then when after Adam died, Allah sent other prophets. But those 10 centuries, the people believed in Allah and his oneness and worshiped him alone. They just had a problem, practicing their religion. So Allah sent prophets to them to remind them. But a messenger is sent to people who don't believe in Allah. That's why the messengers are of a higher status than the prophets are, because their work is hard. So who's of the higher status, guys? Noah or Adam? Which one is better or higher or closer to Allah? Adam or Noah? Which one? Sabrine, which
Noah.
one?
Was Noah?
Yes, as exactly. Noah is of a higher status because he was a messenger. He was not just a prophet. And I want y'all to remember, all messengers are prophets, but all prophets are not messengers. Noah was of a higher status than Adam because even though Adam was the first man created, Noah was the first man sent to a people who didn't believe in Allah. Okay? So that's what Allah did when the people associated partners. He sent to them a messenger. Okay? Everybody remember that. So this is what we talked about as far as the beginning history of mankind. So the first deviation from the correct belief system began when then? So based on what we are talking about, who can tell me the first deviation in the correct Aqidah began when in the history of religion then? Or with what prophet? Who can answer that? Just to see if you're following me. Sister Khadijah. Just to see if you following me, Khadijah. So we can say, based on everything we've talked about so far, the first deviation away from the correct belief system began with during the time of what prophet, Khadijah? During the time of what prophet, Lucy?
Noah.
Exactly. So that's something that you guys need to remember. It was Noah, the deviation. So man, humans, we were all upon the correct belief system up until 10 centuries after Allah put man here. And that was the people of Noah. Okay. Good
I have
job.
a question about that question.
Go ahead.
So does that mean during that time when those people were they also like, since you said they deviated in Noah's time, does that mean those people who like just died, did they just go straight to heaven, or they're still going to be judged for that?
Okay, we talked about that when we did the series of the prophets. In regards to the people who will be in paradise that are not from the nation of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Who are those people? Y'all should know that from a previous series when we talked about paradise and hell. Who can answer that? What Jews, what Christians, what Sabians, or whatever they want to call themselves will be in paradise? Zarina, answer a question.
The ones who obeyed the prophet and Allah's message.
What prophet?
The prophets of the prophet Noah at that time.
Okay, the prophets of that time, whoever it was.
Right.
So that's your answer, Norta. You should remember that. You know, the people that will be in paradise who are not from the nation of the Prophet Muhammad are those people who followed and obeyed whatever prophet was sent to them and who was with them at that time. Y'all remember that? So whoever was with Jonah and whoever was with him and believed what he came with and obeyed him, they will be in paradise. Those that didn't will not. Because remember, even though the people before Noah were upon the correct belief system, did they commit sins, Norto?
Yes.
There you go. But the ones that followed and stayed with their prophets and adhered to their religion, they the ones that won't go to hell. The ones that will go to hell, the ones that disobey them and commit sin. That makes sense, Norto? Does that make sense? Does that answer your question?
Huh? Yeah.
Yeah, y'all remember that. Y'all should remember that from the class I did on paradise and hell. Okay, so The first deviation from the correct Aqidah or the correct belief system happened during the time of Noah. Before that, we all followed the true Tawheed, but there were people who did commit sin. If they deviate away from the laws and rules, they got to answer to Allah. Okay, but the ones who stayed upon the correct way, they'll be with their prophets in paradise. Okay, and how did the people respond when Noah came to them, trying to call them to Tawheed, which is to worship Allah alone? What type of response was Prophet Noah met with? What type of response did he meet, Jamila?
They were rebellious and said, well, Noah, you're a man just like we are, you know, so why should we believe? We believe in the idols, you know, that's who we believe in. Those, the idols were the people that I think they was kind of up there, whatever, and they worship them. They just worship those kind of people. And so Shaitan came in the form of a man and told them to worship these people, start praying to them, and so forth.
Exactly. So they were not receptive to Tawheed at all. You know, they were so caught up in Shaitan, you know, telling them to worship and pray to these dead men who they made idols out of. They didn't receive him well. They told him, who are you? You know, you are a human being like us. If God wanted to send somebody to call us to him, he would have sent an angel. Why would he send you? You're nobody. You're not even a rich man. You know, so their reception to the idea was not good. And that's why it is harder to call people to believe in Allah than it is to call people to obey him. Because if I believe in something, I can just either choose to obey or disbelieve. I mean, to obey or disobey. But if I don't believe in someone, why would I obey them? Something that I don't believe in. Okay. So that's the true story of mankind as told to us by Allah through the Quran. And as Sister Zainab said, with the understanding of the companions from the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And we talked about this yesterday, these verses. We also talked about how the other prophets, what religion they belong to. This is another question that even today, many people ask, what religion was Moses? What religion was Abraham? What religion was Solomon and David? What religion was Jesus? What religion was Jonah? What religion were these men? And we answered that question yesterday. Fatima, what was the religion of Jonah?
Was it Islam?
You're asking me?
No, I'm answering, saying, is Islam?
Okay. Anybody disagree with her? Okay. What were the religion of any of all the other prophets? Can anyone answer that? Sister Fatima, what was the religion of all the prophets?
Islam.
Okay. And what does Islam mean?
Believe in Allah. Belief in Allah.
Does Islam mean
submission,
to believe in Allah?
No, submission to Allah.
Okay, what does Tawheed mean?
Oneness of Allah.
Does Tawheed mean oneness of Allah?
No.
Okay, help her out, Kadi. What does Tawheed mean? I'll get off the mic, thank you, and listen.
Very well.
Kadi, what does Tawheed mean?
No, it means that only Allah is worthy of praise.
Yes.
No other God except him.
Only Allah is worthy of what?
Of praise.
Okay. Who else want to try to answer? What is the meaning of Tawheed? Jamila, what does Tawheed mean?
Allah is the only one to be worshipped.
Yes, only Allah is worthy of worship. I want y'all to remember the Arabic word tawheed. Yes, it does refer to oneness, but what does it mean? It means no one or nothing is deserving of worship other than Allah. And what is the meaning of the Arabic term Islam, Jamila?
Islam, by all the prophets, mean being submissive.
No, I ain't got nothing to do with no. What does the word Islam mean? Islam is an Arabic word. What does it mean?
Being submissive. Did you hear me?
Yeah, being submissive. Let's see, somebody else. Let me see who else. I'm trying to go up this letter too. Pfizer, are you here or are you working? And Pfizer knows the answer. I don't want Pfizer to answer anyway. Don't even answer, Pfizer. And don't, yeah, you know the answer. Let me go up, and Fame knows too. Everybody here. Amina, Antar. What does Islam mean? Antar, wake up. She done fell asleep during my class. Okay, Pfizer, tell them what Islam means.
Islam means total submission to the will of Allah.
Y'all write that down, Jamila and everybody. Islam doesn't mean submission. It means total submission to the will of Allah. That's a
I had the wrong word.
Thing.
Yes.
When you say submission to what? Submission to
I have total submission to Allah. That's what Islam means.
To the will of Allah. Y'all got to put the will of Allah in there too. Because remember, we talked about the Qadr. Allah is the one in control of everything. Nothing happens. Nothing will be unless He allows it.
Layla, did you call me?
Girl, yeah. What's the meaning of the word Muslim, Antar?
Muslim.
Were you sleeping?
Yeah, I almost had like I was having another stroke in my face.
Girl, here we go. You having a stroke?
In my face was moving around.
Who told you that? Yeah, they saw it?
No, I felt it myself. I had to go take a muscle relaxer and another muscle relaxer and that other thing I told you I take for my nerves.
When do you go back to the doctor about this?
I gotta call him tomorrow and see.
Yeah, this is bad, Antar.
Because I'm doing everything like I'm supposed to do, eating right. I'm doing my sugar is good, my blood pressure is good.
Thing. It's that thing on that brain,
yeah,
like I said.
Yeah, something was moving in my head, and then all of a sudden I started getting that problem. So I don't know.
She got that tumor just sitting there, Pfizer. That tumor is sitting on that brain, and like my other friend who's a BSN said, until they shrink it, that's what's causing you to have. Yeah, the sugar had to do something with it too, but that it's not going to go away until they give you the radiation to treat and shrink that brain tumor.
Yeah, I'm gonna call tomorrow to talk to him to see when they're gonna start giving me something for it to shrink it. And I'm also to talk to my primary doctor tomorrow because she know how to contact him as well. So I gotta call.
Having a stroke in my class.
No, actually, it wasn't in your class. It was before your class, I think.
Oh, thing. Do you know what the word Muslim? Can you remember what the word Muslim means?
There you got me thinking.
Let's test your memory. Let's test that tumor. Do you remember what it means? Seriously. How's your memory right now?
Shoot, obviously bad. Let me think.
You remember what time it is? What time is it? What day is it? What's
Sunday.
Today?
Sunday.
Good. Sunday. Good. Okay. So it didn't mess up your brain this time, your memory. But don't worry about answering. Yeah, but God, Allah, girl, you call that doctor tomorrow. This is ridiculous. You having too many strokes.
And I'm gonna call him first thing, inshallah, tomorrow.
Yeah. SubhanAllah. Okay, let's see who else is here. Latifa, what does Muslim mean? Latifa. Okay, Faiza, tell them what Muslim means.
A Muslim is a person who submits totally to the will of Allah.
There you go. So Muslim is what we are. A Muslim is a person that submits himself totally to the will of Allah. You know, and a lot of us claim to be Muslim, but we don't submit. Those of you, we talked about shirk the other day. Shirk el-Asghar, the minor shirk. This is to be discontent. Not only does it mean showing off, but it's also being discontent with your situation. You know that you're in a bad marriage, for example. You know that this man is no good for you. This man has stripped you of everything spiritually. He stripped you of everything emotionally. He's stripping you physically. Instead of you changing your situation, changing your condition, you're going to sit there like the Qadariya tell you, be patient. I told y'all those imams that tell y'all to be patient, where they from? They're Qadariya. They believe in accepting that this is your decree. This is what Allah willed for you. So just sit there and let this man continue to suck the life out of you until he kills you. This is wrong. Allah said, change the condition of yourself. He will never change the condition of a person until that person first takes the steps to change the condition of himself. You know this man is no good for you. He is not your God. You were created to worship Allah. You were put here on this earth to be tested in your belief in him. Am I answering your question, sister? Sister on Facebook who's asking me about this. So you change your situation. You get out of that marriage. This man is nothing. He's nobody. He's toxic. He's bad for you. So you pack your bag and you go back home to your mother. You go back home to your father. You go home to your daughter, your son, or get you a place to live. We do not sit in a bad situation. This is associating partners with Allah. This is known as the minor shirk. A Muslim submits himself totally to Allah, not to a man, not to a woman, not to a child, not to anything else. When you see that something is bad for you spiritually, emotionally, it's standing between you and your paradise. It's standing between you and your purpose in life. You better get out of it. You don't sit there like these imams who are from the Qadariya are telling you women to be patient. There is no hadith. I repeat, there is no hadith. I repeat, there is no hadith on this planet where a woman came to the prophet complaining about how she was in a bad marriage and the prophet sent her back and told her to be patient. In fact, any woman that came to the prophet complaining about how they were discontent in their marriage, the first thing he said is, do you want a divorce? Because Allah did not create women to be polygamous. We are monogamous by nature. We can live with the same spouse, the same mate, till death do us part, as long as he's good to us. So these imams that are telling you sisters who are in abusive, toxic relationships to stay in them and be patient. I'm not talking about you sisters who like to hop around, because there's always an exception to every rule. We have some women that like to hop around. It's a rare case. 1 out of every 50 might want to be a hopper. Okay? You married to a man that's good to you. He provides for you. He maintains you. He practices his religion and fulfills his obligations to Allah. But you just don't want to be with him because you just sick of him. You just want to know what it's like to taste the water on somewhere else. You're a taster. You're what the prophet called a taster. Those women have the curse of Allah on them. That's different. I'm talking about, but I don't see that many tasters. I don't know any tasters. My women friends are not like that, but they're out there. Most of the women I know are in abusive, bad marriages. And those marriages are stripping them from their purpose in life. You better get out of it. If the man, your some imam tells you to be patient, you tell him, you shouldn't even be an imam. You better bounce your behind up out of that office and get the heck out of that house and file for a divorce downtown. Through the white man, as they say. Go to the white man and get you a divorce. Since the Muslim man couldn't help you. Everybody got that? So, we have to change the condition of ourselves to that which is pleasing to Allah. And also, guys, we talked about how the Prophet Muhammad made the statement, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said the prophets are brothers. Their mothers are different, but what does this mean? When he said the prophets are brothers, but their mothers were different. What did that mean, Brother Marard?
That meant that they all came with the same message and they were all under the same religion.
Exactly. They were all upon the same religion. So I want y'all to remember that every prophet, every prophet alayhi salam was upon the religion of Islam, which, as Faiza said, means total submission to the will of Allah. And every prophet and messenger were Muslim, meaning that they were a person that submitted himself totally to the will of Allah. And that's how we're supposed to be. But how many of us can say we are? That's the question. Yes.
And I also had another question.
Yes.
When we say we submit totally to the will of Allah, what does the will of Allah mean?
It means whatever he has, whatever he puts you through, whatever happens, you're going to deal with it. It means I'm going to deal with it. If Allah decides for you to get in a car accident today, you're going to deal with it. You ain't going to sit there and panic and say, well, my car's tore up. I got a broken leg. That's it. It's over. No, I'm going to deal with it. Allah meant for this to happen. So I'm going to deal with it. I'm going to call upon him. I'm going to say, oh, Allah, cure me. Oh, Allah, heal me. Oh, Allah, give me the ability to get another car. We ain't going to just sit there and say, well, that's what it means. Look up the meaning of the word submit. Y'all don't understand English. I keep telling y'all to carry a dictionary with you and look it up in a dictionary. And if something happens to you that's bad, like I just said, if you're in a bad marriage, I'm going to change my condition to what's pleasing to Allah. Submission means also what's pleasing to my Lord. Does Allah want for you to be in a bad relationship that's going to cause you to end up going to hell? Oh, heck no. So I submit and get the heck up out of here. Allah created us, guys. He said, I created you to worship me. I put you on earth, Brother Marard, to test you and to see if you really believe in me. I gave you rules. I gave you guidelines. I gave you things to abide by. I told you the things I love. I told you the things I hate. So now, are you going to submit? That's what it means. What are you going to do? Earn my love? Or are you going to earn my hatred? Are you going to stay in that bad marriage and earn my hatred? Being discontent? Or are you going to get up off your rocker and change yourself to something better and earn my approval? That's what submit means. You understand, Brother Marard?
Yes.
Okay. And you people that's listening to me need to break it down in English and not Arabic. Because as you guys can see, Americans haven't spoken English in centuries. We need to have it broken down where they don't understand their own language. Okay, so every prophet was upon the religion of Islam, total submission to the will of Allah. And every prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, lived his life trying to please Allah and do the things that Allah would be proud of us doing. And finally, yesterday, we talked about how, first of all, who are the chosen people? Who are the chosen people? Who can answer that? Let me go up the scale to Sister Fame. Who are the chosen people, Fame? Who are the chosen people, Brother Ahmad?
Muslims.
MashaAllah. The Muslims are the chosen people. Before the Muslims, who were the chosen people, Ahmad? Who were the chosen people?
Christians.
Yes, the Christians. And before the Christians, who were the chosen people, Ahmad?
The Jews.
The Jews. Okay, what happened to cause Allah to not keep those people as being chosen, Brother Ahmad?
They moved away from their rulings and books.
Yes. 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 Good job, Brother Ahmad. Who wants to add to what he's saying too? Go ahead, Lucy.
They abandoned their religion and their beliefs, and they abandoned it by questioning Allah. They built idols for Christians, the Jews. They pick and choose who they wanted to believe in.
Okay, that's one way. Anyone else want to add? Go ahead, Norto.
They also chose not to listen to the prophets or messengers that were sent to them. So they chose what to believe in and what not to believe in. And they also added to the things or took away from the things Allah
Good job. Good job. Sister Kadi, you want to add to it? Go ahead.
The Jews were killing the prophets that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was sending.
That's true too. Anybody else? The biggest thing that Allah speaks about in the Quran that they did, who can remember that? The worst thing they did.
They choose their rebels.
Yeah, go ahead.
They choose their rebels as their, I can't say that word.
Yeah, you're right. Yes, as Brother Ahmad is saying, they chose their rabbis and their priests to be their gods because they allowed their rabbis and their priests to make things lawful that Allah made unlawful and make things unlawful that Allah made lawful. They allowed their priests and their rabbis to change Allah's books, guys. And when you do that, that's associating partners with Allah. They made their rabbis and they made their priests gods. The same way we see Muslims doing this today. The same way we see Muslims doing it. How do Muslims today do? How are Muslims today doing that? Can anyone answer that? Go ahead, Zarina.
They so-called sheikhs or whatever they follow, they take their opinion, misconstruing the hadith, or just straight up telling lies, and they even worship them when they die sometimes. Just all kinds of craziness. Yeah.
Okay, good job. The Muslims are doing the same thing. They allowing their so-called sheikhs to make fatwas that go against what Allah says. For example, that stupid fatwa that they have that pork can become lawful. If you boil pork and cook it for at a certain amount of temperature for a certain amount of time, then you take out the impurities and we can eat it. Where did Allah say we have to do that? Allah said, don't touch it. Don't sell it, don't touch it, don't handle it, don't give it away. Now you telling me to pick it up, put it in some water, and just let it keep boiling forever, and then I can eat it. Where did the law say we can do that? You changing the book of Allah. Okay, you're doing the same thing that the Christians and Jews did. Who can give me other examples as to how we are doing that? Who can give me other example? There's so many examples that show how we Muslims are allowing our so-called rabbis, priests, and scholars, to change us. Who can give me another example? I can give a whole bunch. Go ahead, Lucy.
They are adding to the religion. Like if we go and pray and they saying they doing 2 Jumas instead of 1. It's not in the Quran. In the Quran is to do 1, not 2, not 3.
Okay, they're changing the prayers. Kadi, go ahead.
They're saying they won't accept some of the things set forth by, the Prophet, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying if certain type of teacher doesn't say it for them, they will not accept it as such.
What type of things? Give me an example. That's what I'm asking.
Like a hadith set forth by Prophet Muhammad. They will say that if it's not said by some type of Sufi or some type of prophet or like some type of teacher of them, they don't accept it. But we have to accept everything.
And like Sister Pamela saying, this birthday stuff, y'all celebrating birthdays. That's an act of worship. That's associating partners. Celebrating pagan holidays. Look at this Halloween crap that Saudi Arabia put on display. Look over there in Dubai right now, how they doing Christmas, which is a great sacrilege. Okay? Making things lawful the same way the Christians and Jews did. That's unlawful. You making polygamy unlawful. Look how many Muslims are telling you from the Muslim lands, how many Egyptian women have I had to listen to in the past year? Because I listen to these Egyptian women because I'm Egyptian too on this other social platform. Those women sit there, they say, oh, polygamy is an old thing. Polygamy is bad. Polygamy is something that would destroy families. And I'm like, sister, are you out your mind? You want to make polygamy haram. That's what the Christians and Jews did. But you want to make fornication lawful. These women say that polygamy is haram, but it's okay to go out on dates. In fact, it's best to get to know a person before you marry them. So you're telling me that fornication and adultery is permissible, but polygamy is haram. That's the same thing the Christians and Jews did. Okay, they changed the religion. They made things lawful that Allah made unlawful and vice versa. Music. Allah is clear that musical instruments are haram. But look at all these men who are going around saying, no, it's okay. Yeah, they got on the news how DJ Khaled, and what's the other loser's name? Mike Tyson. DJ Khaled and Mike Tyson made Umrah today together, Sister Layla. Oh, mashallah. Look at DJ Khaled. And what did he do? He was also making a video, a music video. He made a music video right there in Saudi Arabia. Musical instruments, dancing, butt shaking, and all the stuff, the hip hop galore. So that tells you about his Umrah. That tells you about his Umrah. So we got to stop twisting the religion around. And the Prophet told us that this would happen, that we Muslims would do the same thing the Christians and Jews did, twist the religion around. Okay, so this is the history in a nutshell. This was the history of religion as taught to us by Allah and his Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And is it going to get any better? Are the people going to get any better? Are we going to end up back to how we used to be, worshiping Allah alone? Who can answer that? Are we going to end up back like that?
No.
No, because because the prophet said
No.
every generation of Muslim will be worse than the other generation.
Exactly. It's going to get worse, guys. That's why we got those greater signs. You got the Antichrist, and well, I can tell you something worse than the Antichrist, the beast. The Gog and the Magog is even worse than the Antichrist. Yeah, it's going to get worse. And to the fact that the prophet said, when the last hour comes, whoever is living on earth at that time will be a pure kafir. There will be not one believer living on this planet, because right before the last hour comes, Allah will send a coronavirus, a virus that will cause all the believers, Jesus and all the believers will die, leaving nothing but kafirs on earth, and they will be the worst of mankind ever created. So it's not going to get no better, guys. Life is going to go downhill from this point on, as far as the world. The world is going to go downhill from this point on. And the only thing that's going to save you as an individual, or me as an individual Muslim, is our Aqidah, not my good deeds. I can sit on this internet like I'm doing every day. I sit here teaching Islam all day and all night. Y'all know that. That's not going to save me if my Aqidah is not correct. The only thing that's going to help me get through the bad times that I have in life is the correct belief system. That's why the prophet said, don't just say you believe in Allah. Be certain of it. Are you certain? That's the question. I think I'm pretty certain. What about you? And we can only answer that individually. All right, I'm going to stop right here. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. No